Penguin Random House Audio presents The Fort Bragg Cartel, Drug Trafficking and Murder in the Special Forces by Seth Harp. Read for you by Dan John Miller. For Oscar Medina and Ramon Ojeda. I'd done 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. I came home with a brand new plan. I'd take the seed from Colombia and Mexico. I just planted up a holler down Copperhead Road. And now the DEA's got a chopper in the air. I wake up screaming like I'm back over there. I learned a thing or two from Charlie, don't you know? You better stay away from Copperhead Road. Steve Earle, Copperhead Road. Part 1. Chapter 1. I kill people for a living. 2 veteran Special Forces soldiers, still drunk from the night before, their brains fried from a days-long binge on cocaine, MDMA, prescription pills, and a grab bag of mind-altering chemicals commonly sold in smoke shops as bath salts, were driving home from Walt Disney World the morning of March 21st, 2018, when Sergeant First Class Mark Leschiger, riding in the passenger seat, developed an unshakable conviction that their car was being followed. Leschiger's hard blue eyes, cracked with bloodshot veins from lack of sleep, studied the side view mirror. He could have sworn that he saw shadowy pursuers on their tail, flitting in and out of the hazy lanes of traffic behind them on the Dixie Highway. The driver of the car, Master Sergeant William Levine II, a member of the U.S. Army's top-secret Delta Force, who had been trained in evasive driving and counter-surveillance, told Leschiger that he was hallucinating. They were northbound on Interstate 95, headed for Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where both men were stationed. Levine, the older and more highly ranking of the two, had been keeping a close watch on the rearview mirror for miles. There was no one on their 6 o'clock, he insisted, but Leschiger wouldn't listen. 2 little girls, Levine's daughter and Leschiger's, were in the back of the car, tired and sunburned after days of exploring the theme parks in and around Orlando, Florida. They were too young to understand what the tense bickering in the front seats was about. All they knew was that their daddies were starting to scare them. According to Leschiger's mother, sister, and wife, he had been acting strangely for the last 6 months. The trouble began, they said, in late 2017 as a result of an ambiguous mishap that he sustained while on deployment to Tajikistan, a remote and mountainous narco-state that the United States used for many years as a staging ground for the war in Afghanistan. What exactly happened to Leschiger in Tajikistan, a global hub of international heroin trafficking, is a mystery. An anodyne Pentagon press release states that he and his Green Beret teammates were there to train the Tajik military on standard infantry tactics like target practice, rock drills, and first aid. Everyone in the accompanying photograph looks pretty bored, but upon Leschiger's return to the United States, he didn't seem like the same person. His appearance had changed too. When he came home, said his mother, Tammy Mabey, notably, you could see a droopiness in his eye. Leschiger told her and his wife, Laura, that he and his team had come under attack in an ambush and that a roadside bomb had rocked the truck he was in, leaving him with a traumatic brain injury. But a spokesman for the United States Army Special Operations Command, known as USASOC, said that no American soldier has ever been killed or wounded in Tajikistan. Nor do Leschiger's personnel records reflect that he was awarded a Purple Heart, a decoration given to soldiers wounded as a result of enemy action. Whatever the cause of Leschiger's injury, a military doctor had prescribed him tramadol, an opioid painkiller that was freely distributed to elite troops during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and became a popular drug of abuse among special operations soldiers. Leschiger also came back from Tajikistan with a steady supply of the benzodiazepine Xanax, which he took along with tramadol to treat anxiety associated with his supposed PTSD, another claimed effect of the fictitious ambush. On top of this volatile pharmaceutical cocktail, which, in addition to suppressing the central nervous system, can cause bizarre episodes of uninhibited behavior, Leshiger had taken up snorting cocaine. He tried to rationalize it, telling Tammy that he and his fellow Green Berets regularly used the stuff to stay awake during night operations. "It's just like taking an antidepressant," he'd said. Tammy, a single mother who had worked for a succession of small-town police departments in the Pacific Northwest, first as a jailer and dispatcher, later as a patrolwoman, wasn't convinced. Cocaine is illegal, not something prescribed by a doctor, she reasoned. But it was her son's alcohol consumption that concerned her the most. "Marky always acted perfectly fine when doing cocaine," she said. "When Marky would spiral was if he drank too much." In the past, Leshiger had been a proud, stoic, taciturn man, not given to displays of incontinent emotion. Now, after no more than 2 or 3 alcoholic beverages, which combined poorly with the medications he was on, a maudlin gloominess would overtake him, a sullen and wounded sort of machismo. He would turn to his wife and say things like, "You know I'm a bad person, right? I kill people for a living." In a photo taken at an American base in Afghanistan, where he served 6 months in combat from 2015 to 2016, Leshiger wears wraparound Oakley sunglasses, a thick beard, and a pleased grin while getting pinned with a Bronze Star medal and a combat infantry badge. In other photos, he sports a custom skull patch on the front of his body armor, a Confederate battle flag on his left shoulder, and an oversized belt buckle shaped like a fanged demon with ram's horns. Such a pig-headed, egotistical man was the first impression that he made on Laura, a paralegal originally from Hawaii whose dad was a Marine. She initially scoffed at his swaggering boastfulness and the ridiculous lies he told. He was rather tall and handsome, though. 6'4" with light blue eyes and a jawline as well defined as a carpenter's square. "Over time," said Laura, "he grew on me." Leshiger was born in 1984 in rural Idaho and joined the active duty Air Force at age 18. He served in the Air Force Honor Guard, a ceremonial unit in which he felt left out of the real action entailed in America's escalating wars. In 2010, after an aimless period in civilian employ, he secured a Special Forces slot in Washington State's Army National Guard and was sent to Fort Bragg for Green Beret training. Assigned to the 19th Special Forces Group, a National Guard formation that has teams of part-time Green Berets stationed all over the country, Leshiger went on to patch together a career as a so-called guard bum, a reservist with no other regular source of employment who jumps from orders to orders, picking up deployments, temporary duty assignments, and paid training gigs as often as possible. He deployed for a year to the Philippines, worked for a time as a SWAT trainer and private security guard, then did his tours in Afghanistan and Tajikistan. "His deployments were pretty kinetic," said Jordan Terrell, a paratrooper in Fort Bragg's 82nd Airborne Division, originally from Chicago, who was friends with Leshiger. "I know he threw a bunch of incendiary grenades on a villager's hut and burned a couple of people alive," Terrell said. "He showed me videos. It was pretty fucked up." Shortly after returning from Tajikistan in 2017, Leshiger suffered a severe clonic-tonic seizure, resulting in his hospitalization. A computed tomography scan of his brain, as well as magnetic resonance imaging, failed to disclose any physical trauma. There was no clear etiology for the seizure, but the doctor who examined him surmised that it had something to do with his heavy use of prescription drugs, as well as chronic insomnia. In February 2018, about a month before the ill-fated trip to Disney World, Leshiger's little sister, Nicole Rick, and her husband, a Navy submariner, stayed with Mark and Laura for 2 weeks while closing on a house in Chesapeake, Virginia. Whenever a babysitter could be found to look after their children, the group of 4 young parents, all in their mid-30s, went out on the town together, invariably joined by Leshiger's best friend, Billy Levine, the Delta Force soldier. "Full disclosure," Nicole said, "me and Billy and Mark all did coke together." Before hitting a bar or club, they would stop at Levine's house, a cookie-cutter tract home at the end of a cul-de-sac in a newly constructed subdivision of
Sample complete. Ready to continue?